So, if you saw my last video, we had a mishap. I was priming this with sealer, and we got fish eyes. And immediately, once I saw the fish eyes, I should have stopped spraying, let it dry, sand it off like I'm about to now. Instead, I wanted to keep spraying. Honestly, I just wanted to see how it laid down, because, you know, it's not going to fish eye everywhere, as long as it's not the paint that itself that wasn't, you know, there's something chemically wrong with the paint, then you'll get fish eyes. But if it wasn't that, then it should lay as it's going to regularly. And kept spraying. I'm kind of glad we did, because it's pretty flat, and honestly, that is nice to know, because it looks like it would have come out good if it weren't for a couple fish eyes over here. And you can see they look like freckles. Now, these fish eyes aren't the worst that I've ever seen, but you still don't want them. And they're on the back side too, where I also sprayed. These ones are more noticeable. Now, I don't think this part is visible at all, but it's definitely not good. So, fish eyes are little pockets where the paint does not want to adhere to whatever material you're spraying it to. So in this case, metal. What can happen is if there's water or silicone or oil, any sort of contaminant, it will be right here and it will block the paint from sticking, so it forms a little bubble and it looks like the little fish eyes. So it's either like an upwards bubble, or typically it's like a concave bubble. So I can't really feel, I mean, I did just spray sealer, so sealer is not very thick, and I only did one layer, so I can't really feel my hands. Because I can't feel my hands, that means we're not going to have to go so aggressive when we sand this off. You know, it's been a couple days. You really only need to give it a day, but it's a couple days later. I now have the time to start sanding. What I'm going to do is wet sand. I'm going to wet sand for one reason mainly. Wet sanding saves sandpaper. And that's a big deal when you're doing this DIY in your garage. You need to save costs, especially if you're doing something on budget. You want to save costs where you can. So we're going to wet sand. Haven't figured out the grit yet. I like to play around with it. There's not really a set grit number for what you want to do. You have to work with what you are working with. So let's wet sand. Probably going to start off with 400 or 320. And I don't want to go any higher than 600 wet, especially because we need to spray sealer primer over again. I said I need to start wet sanding, and then immediately it starts sprinkling, and it's about to pour any second. It looks like I'm going to pick this up tomorrow, probably, when it doesn't rain. Alright, finally not raining. Let's go. So I got 400. Just going to dip it in my water. I got it nice and soaked, and my goal here is to get rid of these spots. So hopefully just 400. If not, we can go lower. And remember, I said I want to do this because I don't want to just go through sandpaper like crazy. So I only sprayed one real thin coat of sealer on here. Sealer is already pretty thin, so this should not take much, and it should cut down pretty good. And something just like that's going to be enough. Yep, so I think we're good with 400. Okay, so we are ready to spray our sealer primer. I'm going to set the camera up, mix up the paint, spray it on. Hopefully we're good. I bought a different wax and grease remover, so I'm hoping it's a lot better than what I was using before. I think what I used before caused the fish eyes that you saw previously. So hopefully we're good. Let's spray. Let's see how it turns out. Alright, we're good. Let's go. Alright, got the base coat in here. It's been about half an hour, give or take. The sealer is dried. We're good. So do a quick test. Alright, we are good to go. Okay, the base coat has flashed. It is about time to spray the clear, so I'm going to mix it up and spray it, but I mean, everything's looking pretty good. There's a couple bit of like dust has fallen on. I guess I could take my tack cloth, but you know, since I'm only painting this, I don't really want this to be perfect because it's really gonna stand out on the truck, and you can't tell. But yeah, we're looking good so far. No more fish eyes. Knock on wood. Still got to do the clear coat, but at least clear coat is manageable because you can sand it afterwards. So I switched to my 1.3 tip. That's this red, you can tell. Normally you do a little more air pressure with clear coat, so gonna adjust the gun a little bit and then start spraying. I mean, after just a brief adjustment of air, we're good. Clear coat is on. I ended up doing 3 coats on the front, only 2 on the back. I mean, the back side doesn't really matter because there's only a small part of it that you're actually going to see. So don't need to worry too much about the back side. But the front side, it's pretty good. It's a little textury, and it's definitely going to need a wet sand and a polish in order to get some of that orange peel out of there. Yeah, so obviously something is not quite right about my paint setup, but you know, this is still pretty good. Now, I do know once it's in the sun, you're going to see more of the imperfections. And honestly, so far I just see some dust has fallen onto it and then some texture. But overall, it seems pretty good, at least looking at it right now. But I'll get back to you once this is dried. Okay, so it's been a couple hours. It is dried. And here in the garage with my light held up against it, it looks pretty good. It's got some dust, some texture, as I said, but you know, it's pretty good, and it's what I would consider acceptable for sure. Definitely gonna see how it looks in the sun, but this is gonna be it for this video. We successfully came back after originally having fish eyes. We sanded it down, sprayed it again, and we're all good. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one.